The Hornets destroy the Magic. The starters' numbers are absolutely elite. Miles Bridges could be had for how many first-round picks? And this is the most important thing I tell you today. Everybody, calm the hell down. All today, Locked On Hornets.
You are Locked On Hornets, your daily Charlotte Hornets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
I've never felt like more of a father than I did just there. It's Locked On Hornets. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and available anywhere you get your pods. That includes YouTube. I'm flying solo today. No Doug Branson. He helped me out on Wednesday. Going to help me out tomorrow. So you will get another Locked On Hornets episode this week, tomorrow, despite us going into the weekend. He's going to recap tomorrow's game against the Wizards. Remember, that game got moved up to 12 o'clock because all the weather happening around here. Winter Storm Fern. We're naming winter storms now. Fern. No, I'm not talking about the Charlotte 49ers head coach, although shout out to Coach Fern. I'm hoping that he brings a storm on the rest of the conference. But yeah, hopefully everybody stays safe. They have some fun. I know for me, as long as I'm not working, when the snow meter goes up, there's a good chance of the beer meter starting to go up. They're one and the same here in the Walker Mehl household. So everybody have some fun in the snow. Hopefully you get enough snow and it's not a ton of ice, even though that's what they're calling for. But you will get another podcast to keep you entertained, at least if you are stuck inside. That's Doug Branson helping you out. Go check out his Substack, everyhornetsboxscore.com. Also go watch Yahoo Sports Daily with Jason Fitz and Caroline Fenton. I'm Walker Mehl. Listen to me every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. Sports Radio 92.7 FM. Wes and Walker again in the middays on WFNZ. So let's not waste any more time. Let's talk about something positive around here. Like, we'll get to some of the negative stuff, but my God, the Hornets, they destroyed the Magic 124-97 last night, second night of a back-to-back. We were all Eric Collins in wanting the Hornets to win by 30. The Magic hit a 3 late to only, quote unquote, have the Hornets win by 27. But either way, we'll take the victory, especially after the rough showing the Hornets gave us, particularly in the first half against Cleveland on Wednesday on national television, ESPN in the house. They sent the A-team. They sent the A-team broadcast. Richard Jefferson, legs, Mike Breen, bang. It's all in the Spectrum Center, and yet we go out and we lay that egg. I don't like that. I don't like that at all, man. I want to boast about this team because there's plenty to boast about, and yet national audiences are checking in, and they're like, oh, what's Charlotte? Really? Yes. Yes, please. Please, I'm telling you, Charlotte does have a lot to boast about. It feels like SpongeBob in Rock Bottom trying to catch the bus to Bikini Bottom, and the bus is ESPN, and SpongeBob is the Hornets, and SpongeBob is trying to grab the candy from the vending machine, and he's faking out the bus. He's faking out ESPN. No, I'm not. No, I'm not going after the candy. No, I'm not going after the candy. Finally, I got you. I'm going to get a win. I'm going to catch the bus, and the bus has already gone to Bikini Bottom. You miss out on it once more. Hornets, they're SpongeBob, ESPN, the Bikini Bottom bus. We keep missing out. But at least they didn't miss out here. They do get wins on the FanDuel Sports Network. I'm a company man, baby. So check us out. FanDuel Sports Network. We'll be with you tomorrow. Pregame coverage, 11:30 with the new 12 o'clock tip time. But it was a beautiful thing. They got off to a hot start. LaMelo starting, Hornets starting well. Not all that much of a coincidence. LaMelo played well in this game. 28 minutes, 16 points. He was 6 of 12 from the field. He was 4 of 8 from 3. He was feeling loosey-goosey. Only had a couple of turnovers, too, on top of his 7 assists. So he was fantastic in this game. Hell, I mean, they were shooting much better. They shot 47% from 3 after being abysmal from deep for really the entire game against Cleveland on Wednesday. They win the first quarter 35-20. And they really never looked back. They took a 20-point lead into halftime. They won by 11 in the third quarter. Almost won every single period except for the late game 3. It was tied at 27 a pop in the fourth. Orlando hits the late 3, and they end up winning the fourth. Oh, well, at least the Hornets took care of business overall, and they end up winning another second night of a back-to-back. Been very good in second night of back-to-backs this season. The numbers are very good for the Hornets. They continue to be the talk of the town. We talked about how they were the talk of the town a couple days ago. Then it was from a negative aspect on Wednesday and Thursday. Now we're going over where everything is a vicious cycle. Everything is a roller coaster. We're on the ascent again, baby. Woo! Victory. Not only do we win around here, we win by like 25 plus all the time. Ridiculous numbers. And speaking of ridiculous numbers, the starters are putting up bananas, brain-melting numbers compared to the other starting lineups in the league at this point. And I find it interesting when we compare what the starters have been doing, the team, what they've been doing currently, what they've been doing recently. I find it interesting when you compare what they've been doing now to what we expected them to do. Because when we came into the season, we were expecting Charlotte to embrace a heavy offensive identity, see if they could become a respectful, competitive basketball team that way, lean all the way into offense, probably get scored on a lot. Oh, well, at least we're competitive. And there was a while where that was true. But since the turn of the calendar, it's been a different story. Before 2026, they only stopped a team from scoring 100 points one time. That was Toronto. Since the turn of the calendar, they've held teams to under 107 times. All the teams that failed to reach triple digits, by the way, they're teams that are either middle of the pack offensively on the year or they're pretty good offensively. Denver is the only team that you throw out because they sat everybody, but that includes an OKC team that's number one in the league still overall in offensive rating. We're still talking about like the worst of the teams being Utah at 18th offensive rating. Chicago is like right around that area, 16th, 17th. So yeah, like right there at average or better than average, with Denver being the team that you throw out, basically just saying, I'm not going to hear the it's been a weak schedule argument. Defensively, they've been good. You might be a little skeptical to say Charlotte's defense is just flat out good now. You might need to see something more. And I get it. If you're a detractor, I think you would point to the 3-point shooting percentage. You might say, I don't know how real this defense is. In 2025 this season, the Hornets allowed the highest 3-point shooting percentage this year at 39% during that snippet. But since the turn of the calendar, in 2026, the Hornets are allowing the second lowest 3-point shooting percentage at 31.6%. One spot from the exact opposite end of the spectrum. Yeah, I think that's going to help the Hornets defense quite a bit. It's going to help out Charlotte, period, quite a bit. 3-point shooting helps out a lot. It does indicate a lot of luck. We know this. The nerds out there for the NBA, they know that 3-point shooting, it's a big dictator on how you view defense. The biggest change for the Hornets has been the uptick in minutes for Musa, though. Got to give my guys some love. Musa Diabate coming in for Ryan Kalkbrenner. When Kalkbrenner went out with that injury, wouldn't you know it? It was exactly a month ago as I'm recording this episode, January 23rd. Musa Diabate started his first game on this streak in December and December 23rd, exactly 1 month ago today. That was against Washington. Oh, what another coincidence, man. We're about to play Washington on Saturday. So since that stretch, since he's been starting every game that he's been available for the last month, he's been averaging 30 minutes a pop. And to my surprise, when you look at some of the numbers here, Charlotte has actually been the 11th best team in the league, according to Cleaning the Glass, in rim deterrence, with teams not shooting a ton of their shots in the paint or at the rim against him, despite Musa being an undersized center. They play a lot of keep everything in front of you defense from the guards, and you know that's going to help somebody that's a little undersized in Musa, even if he contests quite well. They're number 3 in the league in effective field goal percentage allowed. That's helped by a bad 3-point percentage that teams have been shooting against Charlotte to this point at the turn of 2026. Teams are shooting 67% at the cup. So they've been better at rim deterrence recently, more so than they've been at not allowing a high percentage. It's not bad, though. It's not awful. 20th in the league there at 67%. So Cleveland, they got into the paint quite a bit. Evan Mobley, Jared Allen hurt him a little bit, but still pretty good. They're 6th in points per 100 possessions since Musa has been starting defensively. The offensive rebounding has been great. They're still not fouling a lot. That's a principle of Charles Lee's. And they've been phenomenal at cutting off putbacks. They're like top 10 in almost every category, according to Cleaning the Glass, in putbacks, basically just not allowing second chance points. They're getting a lot of offensive rebounds, and the points per 100 possessions on putbacks, I think they're 3rd in that category. They're 5th in transition defense. Oh my God. Do you remember how bad they were at getting back on defense? I think Musa helps just an unbelievable amount in that area. So if we're trying to figure out where is the defense fake, where is it real? I mean, I think maybe some of the three-point shooting is real. A lot of it's going to be luck for sure, but Moose is a better perimeter defender than Ryan Kalkbrenner is. So you can show and rely on his athleticism to get back into the paint more. That's what you have Musa for. That's an advantage. I think what's real is also having Musa be so mobile out there, be able to take on a Luka or some of these ball handling guards, and also have him get back in transition, not allowing fast break opportunities. It was a monster weakness for this squad earlier in the year. Now they've just been downright good at getting back on defense. A lot of that has to do with Musa. The defense being so much better with him playing 30 minutes a game compared to him coming off of the bench. That's been a monster difference. I do not think it's a coincidence. Let's talk more about some of the other bonkers numbers from these starters coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast. Joe Flacco elite, starters elite, Musa, LaMelo. Oh, we know that. Got a lot of questions about just how elite the Charlotte Hornets starting five is, and then we'll dabble a little bit more into why everybody just needs to calm down. Please and thank you. Coming up next, Locked On Hornets. This episode is brought to you by TurboTax. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. It's coming up. I don't know if you're like me and you wait a little while to do your taxes, but I use TurboTax, and it absolutely helps me, especially if I'm going to procrastinate. So once again, shout out to TurboTax. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person, or you can connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms, and they work to get you every deduction. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150. All in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off of your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. More Locked On Hornets ahead. More numbers. Let's have fun with lineup data because it benefits the Hornets, and I want the people to know. I tweeted this out at Walker Mehl on Twitter earlier. The Hornets have the second best. Let me repeat that. I didn't emphasize that enough. Listen to me, people. The Hornets have the second best five-man lineup in the NBA this year in terms of plus minus, total plus minus. LaMelo at the point, Con Knippel at shooting guard, Brandon Miller at 3, Miles at the 4, Musa at the 5. It's the recent starting lineup. That's the second best five-man lineup in total plus minus so far this year. They're plus 69 in 124 minutes, 17 games played, and only behind Minnesota's starters at plus 86. Geez, tip of the cap, Minnesota, even though they've been losing lately. Only behind Minnesota's starters at plus 86, and they're tied with OKC's starters with, small sample because Jalen Williams has been so hurt for quite some time. You have to imagine that the Hornets beatdown really hurt OKC with that lineup also. I don't think anybody was out. It was Chet. Jalen was playing. Yeah. Either way, balling. Just absolutely balling. We got plenty more stats on the lineups there. The league tweeted out that the Hornets over their last 15 games, they've been first in offensive rating, first in second chance points. I'm tired already. First in three-point shooting percentage, second in NBA's rebounding percentage, fourth in net rating in the NBA. And okay, so just all sorts of crazy stats. Defensively, they've been good. Offensively, they've been amazing. Kirk Goldsberry, his efficiency charts, all of the Vorps and Schnorps as titled by Zach Lowe. The efficiency chart has the Hornets with the number one net rating. It's the first time that they've ever been number one on the Goldsberry efficiency chart. Second in offensive rating, sixth in defensive rating on that chart specifically. Seems good. 8-8 since Moose has been in the starting lineup. 124 minutes, 17 games played. Seems solid. Maybe you keep that lineup out there as much as possible, which leads me to this point. Leads me to the whole LaMelo discussion. I'm going to have to do it again. All right. We talked about it on Tuesday, man. I know Doug, he lost his mind a little bit. That's Doug, We're about to the point where we get to I call it the mid-season life crisis, not the midlife crisis. Doug annually experiences the mid-season life crisis, and I go through this too. But Doug, he can tell you, man. I think Doug, maybe just because of age, is a little more sick than I am. We're both sick, but maybe he's in a different bed than I am. Maybe like a different room. I'm in the same wing, different room than he is. But don't make any mistakes about it. We're both sick. The LaMelo stuff, let's talk about it. Like the LaMelo starting thing, man. I reiterate, I think we just all need to calm the hell down. Everybody's losing their freaking mind, despite the Hornets being celebrated by most of the national media that actually knows what's going on. Okay? We got plenty of comments from national media members that don't know what's going on, but the people that watch basketball, watch the association, they're pointing to Charlotte and they're saying, hey, something awesome is going on down here. You guys paying attention? A lot of people saying no, but the people that are will take a look at the numbers. They'll take a look at the film. They'll watch the games and they'll say, yeah, you know what? Charlotte is looking pretty good. And they've been looking good for quite a while. The offensive rating overall this year, it's really, really nice. So that's one thing we could focus on. But instead, these 3 games that LaMelo has been coming off of the bench, feels like we've been losing our mind a little bit. Let's go through the timeline. After the latest injury for LaMelo, on back-to-backs, they subbed out LaMelo after around the 5:30 mark to start the game. They lost to Cleveland, Milwaukee, and they lost to Toronto in those 3 games that they tried that since the latest LaMelo Ball injury, right? That Toronto game, that's the game that led to the change with everyone so mad over Charlotte allowing Toronto to get back in it. LaMelo sitting out a good portion of the 4th. Emmanuel quickly, he comes in, bang, hits the kill shot. Next game against the Pacers, they bring LaMelo off of the bench, and despite an absolute gangbusters contest from LaMelo, they lose, and a lot of that was because of a bad start. LaMelo was insane, 11 points in each of the first 3 quarters, on great efficiency, shooting some wild shots, but they lost because not many other people helped LaMelo. He needed a running mate, didn't have one. LaMelo struggles in the next 2 games off of the bench. The Hornets lose after starting horribly, and we all lose our minds because this time against the Cavs on national television, in broad daylight, or so it feels. On national television, we all lose our minds because ESPN saw LaMelo come off of the bench, and they ended up putting together just a trash first half. It was absolutely terrible. Off of the heels of Draymond's comments, we get Mike Malone not understanding the way that the minutes are divvied up for LaMelo. Chandler Parsons criticizes the decision without acknowledging what's happening with LaMelo's game management at all. It's been a damn mess. Shout out to Lou Williams for actually asking questions. Is there something I'm missing? Yeah, there is. Thank you for just inquiring. That's it. The bar is low, baby. Come have a drink at the low bar. It's all very low. Thank you for inquiring, at least showing some interest. And he's done this a lot. Shout out to Lou Williams on Run It Back for dispelling some of the LaMelo rumors out there, or just at least asking questions. I appreciate that. So maybe we just go through the decision-making process to LaMelo, with LaMelo, and whether it was a worthwhile idea of bringing him off of the bench to start these games. We can do that in just a moment. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast. We'll go through the LaMelo timeline. I'll give you my opinions on it. And we have to get to the Sam Amick report where Miles Bridges, he is being sought after possibly, but the Hornets asking price, it's a little more than I thought it would be. That's still to come. Final segment, LOH. Before we get to the last segment, I need to tell you that this episode is brought to you by Quo. We appreciate them helping us out as always. New year, new systems. This is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of how we run our business and think there has to be a better way. And there is. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest upgrades you can make. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, Quo, the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. Your whole team can call and text from one shared business number so nothing gets missed. Everyone sees the full conversation thread, which makes replies faster and more personal, and it works right from your phone or computer. And you can even keep your existing number. Quo's smart AI tools automatically log calls, summarize conversations, and highlight next steps so details never slip through the cracks. It's no surprise. Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses, from solo operators to growing teams. Make this the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free. Plus, you can get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/LockedOnNBA. That's QUO, quo.com/LockedOnNBA. Quo. No missed calls, no missed customers. More Locked On Hornets ahead. All right, let's go back to the LaMelo stuff. It's been a mess, man. An absolute mess. So I think if we're just to take a step back, breathe a couple times. Okay. What is it you don't like? We'll work from there. What is it you don't like? First, you have to ask yourself, are you okay with LaMelo's minutes restriction? If you're not, then done. Let's move on. That's your issue. You don't like the minutes restriction. You want him to play however many minutes. You don't believe the training staff or the coaching staff. You think there's a conspiracy theory. Cool. That's your issue. I don't know if I can argue with any conspiracy. You've already made up your mind. Let's move on. Okay. Let's say you're like me and you find the restriction necessary because it's helped LaMelo to tie his consecutive game streak since his sophomore campaign. And he'll pass that at 20 games consecutively once he suits up against Washington tomorrow. He's not on the latest injury report, so we expect him to accomplish that feat. I'll knock on wood. Now we have to ask if you're okay with not playing him a significant stretch in the fourth quarter. Let's move to that question. Were you one of the people killing the team for not playing him for stretches in the fourth in those losses on back-to-backs? If you are okay with that, cool, that's your answer, then go back to that. That's what you believe. If you're cool with that, let's go back to the first plan and we're done. If you're not, okay, so now you have to ask yourself if you're okay with bringing him off the bench to start. Lee and Melo, apparently it's LaMelo too, right? They approached LaMelo with this. By all reporting, all serious reporting, LaMelo has been cool with coming off of the bench. So Charles Lee and LaMelo, they concoct an experiment already practiced by San Antonio and New Orleans to bring their stars off of the bench to maximize their time in the clutch because it wasn't working before. They lost to Cleveland. They lost to Milwaukee. They lost to Toronto. Wasn't working before. So they concocted this new plan. You think clutch time is more important than the start of the game? Okay. We've already gone past that. But if you think clutch time is more important than the start of the game, cool, then you like what Lee is doing, and it will just take a little more adjusting. You think this just needs more time. We need LaMelo for the fourth. I'm actually okay with bringing him off of the bench. Let's move on. If you're not okay with that, so now we've moved on, you're not okay with any of the previous suggestions or the previous things that we talked about. So now you must be a person that says you can start LaMelo and you can play him in the last 6 minutes. You think he should be playing in the first 6 minutes, the last 6 minutes, or any little tiny variation of the such, or maybe you just think he should sit back-to-backs altogether. If your argument is this team is significantly worse without LaMelo on the floor, first thing I would say to that is, duh. Second thing I would say to that is, not playing him at all for a game seems pretty contradictory to that argument. So that erases the not playing him for back-to-backs. The part about starting him and finishing him is fine as long as you're okay without playing him for 12 straight minutes in the middle of the game. And I'll just tell you, this is the most common question and complaint that I've seen about the way Charles Lee and the Charlotte Hornets, the way that they're handling things. And I emphasize Hornets because this has to be training staff. This has to be a team signed off on thing for this to be happening with LaMelo. And again, all reports is LaMelo is signing off on this too. So that's been the number one complaint. There's got to be a way where you can start him and finish him. You can. Like, there is. You can play with the minutes. 25 is the estimation. There is. You just have to go a 12-minute stretch in the middle of the game without playing him, which I also think is contradictory to your argument being LaMelo off of the floor makes this team so much worse. So not playing him for a quarter straight worth of time seems pretty counterintuitive to that argument. Those are the two options they haven't tried, though. They have not sat him for 12 straight minutes in the middle of a game, and they haven't sat him on the second or first night of a back-to-back. And I doubt people really want, especially the part of you sitting him on one of the games in the back-to-back. And if they did sit him, that would look like tanking. That would look a lot more like tanking than what they're doing now, which is just trying to find the best way to win games under a minutes restriction that is absolutely important to LaMelo's long-term health, which I don't want to jeopardize. There are two options they haven't tried. Those are the two, right? So here's where I am. I'd like to go back to the former. You start him. You play the cards dealt to you in the fourth, stealing a couple of minutes from LaMelo here and there. You can play with it a tiny bit, but you can't play with it a ton. Like, you can play with it a tiny bit, but the minutes restriction is the minutes restriction. Yeah, this is your window. This is your stretch. So despite me wanting him to play as much as he can, I do think, and despite me wanting to go back to the former, right? Start him in these games so the Hornets don't get off to such a bad start. You play him like you were playing him in the fourth until he graduates to a level where he can play 28 minutes a night in those back-to-back scenarios. Because right now they're kind of hovering around a 50-minute total, I guess, a 50-minute total in each of those games. I'd like to go back to the former. Okay, but here's a scorching hot lava take from me. Scorching. It was a worthwhile experiment because of the way that they were losing games before. Totally fine. Try it out. The Spurs were doing something extremely similar with Wemby. The same guys that were chastising the Hornets, they were praising the Spurs. And I'm not even just saying that generically. Literally, there's a video of Chandler Parsons on Run It Back praising the Spurs for the way that they were handling Wemby and being shocked at the way that the Hornets were handling LaMelo. Now, I guess, kind of to be fair, he didn't seem to know that this was a minutes management thing, but perhaps you use that as criticism towards Chandler Parsons for not knowing that and indicating that he's not paying attention. San Antonio, they won all those games but one that Wemby was coming off of the bench. Yeah, I understand. They're a better basketball team, straight up. They have more depth. They can handle that. Still, you're taking your star off of the bench. It was 3 games. If it happens again, I'll question the process. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't think that this is the way to handle this anymore. I would like to go back to the way that you were doing it before. I'm one that doesn't necessarily argue prioritizing a minutes window within the game either. I'm a little more towards the nerds where the minutes windows can be arbitrary, but I can be swayed for sure. Like, I'm here for the argument that no, the starting minutes, the starting window is more important than the middle. The clutch minutes are more important than the start, whatever, right? Like, we can have that conversation. I do lean a little bit more towards, hey, whatever stretch that LaMelo's not on the floor, they're going to be hurting because LaMelo is an awesome basketball player, whether it's at the start, the middle, the end, all of it. Yeah, it's going to hurt. They're going to be a worse basketball team. To me, that's just kind of where I lean. I think not, this is my issue with it. I think not maximizing the absolute death lineup that has been the current Hornet starters is the problem. So when you bring in LaMelo, my issue is when he comes into the game, you subbed him in for Con Knipple. And nah, man, I want LaMelo and Con out there on the floor at the same time. Or you're starting Sion instead of Colin Sexton, and you've started Sion James the last couple of times. And I didn't like that. And I get the thinking. You're trying to put the ball in his hands more. Sion is not looking to score all the time like Colin is. I think Colin, with the basketball in his hands, just goes out and makes stuff happen. You run into some manufactured half-court sets just because he's faster than you, and he's physical, and he's a veteran. And I think he's trying to facilitate at a higher level. You saw a little bit of that at the beginning of the year. I think he's open to it. Plus, you're not giving up any sort of tenaciousness out there. Colin and Sion are both young bulls and pit bulls. One is the young bull, one is the pit bull. Sion is the pit bull, Colin is the young bull. We got a couple bulls out there, and I'm happy with the both of them. I just think Colin is probably the better point guard when LaMelo's not in the game. So that's one thing you need to fix. But really, it's just maximizing the starters that have the second best plus minus, the best net rating in all of the NBA. Like, man, that lineup is crazy, man, right now. Do with it what you want. Put as much validity into it as much as you want. But right now, they're balling. And That's what I want to see. We'll see if it continues. But I repeat, let's just calm down. Let's just calm down. To me, it was a worthwhile experiment that just doesn't seem to be working. So we'll see if Charles Lee changes his tune again. One other thing before we get out of here, we need to talk about the Miles Bridges stuff because Sam Amick of The Athletic tweeted out that Miles Bridges is drawing significant trade interest. And we've heard some Miles Bridges rumors, some pretty substantiated rumors, and not that we could prove, but they're coming from reporters that are well respected around the league. Matt Moore of Hardwood Paroxysm, he reported in his Substack that there was some interest surrounding Miles maybe a month ago. Maybe it's heating up. The Milwaukee Bucks, Golden State Warriors, and Phoenix Suns are all known to be among the interested parties, though it remains to be seen if any team can compel the Hornets to give Miles Bridges up. Charlotte's lack of interest in the Bucks' Kyle Kuzma is known to be an obstacle to a potential deal between those two teams, between Milwaukee and Charlotte. Draft capital is also a pivotal part of the conversation. The Hornets want a first-round pick for Miles, maybe even two of them. Two. Didn't think that could happen. Rapid fire thoughts, just like surface level thoughts here. One, it's hard to talk out of both sides out of my mouth when I say the starters have been excellent. Miles is a part of that, and a not insignificant whatsoever part of that, being at the 4 spot. So do you think you can replicate these numbers with this starting lineup by substituting, in Milwaukee's case, a Bobby Portis, because he's been kind of in the mix? You go to Golden State. Yeah, can you imagine Draymond being a part of this? Oh, my God. I don't think they would do it. But whatever forward you would bring, right? Whoever the trade would be for. Kuminga, that would be an interesting name, considering he's very much in the news right now, too. So do you think that whatever player you would get in return on top of assets, right? Because you got to match salary. So on top of assets, would the player in return also help you see some of these numbers that you've seen from the starters? That's a question that the Hornets have to ask themselves. When we discuss the Hornets going for it this year too, I think it still wouldn't be the Hornets tanking if they traded Miles. If the offer is too good to pass up, you get 2 first-round picks for Miles, man. It's a lot. It's a lot of first. I would understand their thinking on that. But Miles has been a good player. He's been a reliable player. He's been available for him. The last couple of years, he's been available for him. You know how that team talks about him. Everybody loves him in the locker room. That's just the way that they discuss Miles. He's been climbing up the leaderboards, passing Larry Johnson, passing Gerald Wallace on the all-time scoring list. Miles said in that post-game interview, Hornets could have given up on me. They never did. Look, we all know the off-the-court stuff. It's been a weird ride. I mean, I think everybody can say, like, I hope we all know it's been a weird ride. It's been a bad one. Weird probably doesn't even do it justice for the people that have been affected by Miles's off-the-court stuff. It's bad. It's been a weird and bad situation. Those guys care about him in the locker room. So you have to think about that. 2 first-round picks, 1 first-round pick. The Hornets are going to have a very serious meeting about whether they trade Miles, because they have been good with him in with the starters. The question is, can you replicate that with whoever would come in return? That'll do it for Locked On Hornets. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and available anywhere you get your podcast. That includes YouTube. Check us out anywhere you get your pods. I mean it when I say it. Subscribe to us, like us, do all of that stuff that your favorite YouTuber tells you to do. Doug Branson, everyhornetsboxscore.com. Check out Yahoo Sports Daily with Jason Fitz and Caroline Fenton. And I'm Walker Mehl. Listen to me on WFNZ every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. Sports Radio 92.7 FM. Have a great rest of your day. Doug, we'll be back with you tomorrow.